Hello Horror Hounds. A few days ago we wrapped up our A to Z of horror with Lucio Fulci's phenomenal Zombie Flesh Eaters, as it's known here in the UK, otherwise known as Zombie 2. And I found after that review that I just wasn't ready to let go of the Italian zombie subgenre just yet. So for the next few videos we're going to wallow in the good, the bad and the ugly of that particular subgenre, and it made sense to carry on with the titular sequel to Zombie Flesh Eaters, known here as Zombie Flesh Eaters 2 and around the world as Zombie 3. And we're in good hands because this movie was also directed by the maestro Lucio Fulci, wasn't it? Wasn't it? The answer is kinda, sorta, according to most sources. He directed about half of this, and in fairness, if I were a producer and wanted to launch a new Italian zombie movie, I'd sure love to have a directing credit by the director of one of the best, possibly the very best zombie movie ever made. In truth, the flick was part directed by Lucio Fulci, then Bruno Mattei took over. One thing we do know, Lucio Fulci certainly wasn't happy with the situation. Everything Zombie Flesh Eaters did right, Zombie 3 does wrong. The predecessor was a nasty, stripped down exercise in horror and violence. The dead are coming back to life and eating the living. Deal with it. No explanation, no subtext, none of the social commentary that's laced through George Romero's triumphant zombie trilogy. Right off the bat in Zombie 3, and I mean the very opening scene, we're shown the very reason behind the return of the dead. Scientists are working for the army on a biological weapon called Death 1. Can't see anything going wrong with that setup. With two directors and a second taking over at the behest of the producers to try and, in their mind, salvage the footage that Fulci himself presented. With the best will in the world, Zombie 3 is a mess. It's a patchwork at best. For reasons that are still open to conjecture, Lucio Fulci didn't finish this movie. Two opposing views are given for Fulci leaving the film. The first being that due to illness he wasn't able to finish it, and the second being that he was having disputes with producers. Fulci himself said the reason he didn't finish the movie wasn't anything to do with illness, but there were arguments, so he finished off an hour and a quarter of the film. Reports say that producers stripped that back down to 15 minutes, and Bruno Mattei was drafted in to generate another 40-45 minutes of footage. Fulci thought the script was dreadful and couldn't get it changed, and I can't imagine that he was happy with any of the footage that he shot. George Romero beautifully laced in subtext and social commentary into his zombie movies. Fulci was canny enough to realise that his strengths did not lie in those directions and avoided them at all costs in Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters. In this film, it seems that Mattei, in an effort to pad out the usable footage from Fulci, decided that he was going to go and try and use elements of the Romero playbook to ham-fisted effect. In unskilled hands, and rightly or wrongly I'm laying this at the feet of Mattei, shoehorning in a slab of social commentary leaves you with Blue Heart, the DJ in Zombie 3. The guy who spins the wheels of steel and talks intermittently about the environment and the ozone layer and all of that jazz. You see, Blue Heart just sits in his booth and doesn't interact with anyone else in the film, which screams reshoots and padding to me. So with the explanation of Death 1 as the reason the dead are coming back to life, it could be argued that Zombie 3, Zombie Flesh Eaters 2 is an infection movie rather than a zombie movie. Look, it's so all over the place that it's a task to try and pin it down at all. Fulci was obviously aiming to replicate the shambling, slow-moving living dead from his previous film. However, Mattei clearly has a penchant for fast-moving infected types that have more of an affiliation with the kung fu vampires from the Hammer Toho co-production The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. One section of the script is reminiscent of a low-rent Return of the Living Dead. There's a scene that takes place at a gas station that's ripped straight from Umberto Lenzi's Nightmare City. There's a bizarre scene with a pregnant woman that's more aligned to Lamberto Bava's Demons than any zombie film. You also have a flying zombie head that has more in common with Hausu than Bava, Fulci or Romero. I realise I'm rattling through these, so let me pause for just a moment to restate. Zombie, flying, head. Meanwhile, there's an army cleanup crew with their gas masks and white hazmat suits and automatic weaponry who owe a clear debt to another Romero film, The Crazies. To quote Alan Partridge, zombies by their very nature are inconsistent, and nowhere is that truer than here in Zombie Flesh Eaters 2. Honestly, don't waste any time trying to work any of this stuff out. If you're happy to watch a gonzo mess of stuff for shits and giggles with friends and booze, this is a fun film to watch. Just understand going in that the plot doesn't make sense. The dialogue is terrible. The acting is atrocious across the board, and the zombies look terrible. Apart from that, it's great. You'll have to make peace with the sight of men waving prop guns around with no muzzle flash, pretending to shoot zombies, just like we all used to do in the playground at school. Seriously, the gunplay in this movie makes the A-Team look like fucking John Wick. All that being said, there are 3 reasons I can't completely hate this film. 1, I've seen Zombie Flesh Eaters 3. 2, in a goofy, ramshackle way, under the right circumstances, this is a lot of fun. And 3, Zombie Flesh Eaters 2, Zombie 3, is clearly the inspiration for the Dead Island games, which I absolutely adore. So what comes after Zombie Flesh Eaters 2? Zombie 4, naturally. It makes sense to move on to that for the next film. And then after that, there are a handful of other Italian zombie movies that we are going to bite bloody chunks out of. Some of them are great. Some of them are god-awful. But they're all Italian and they've all got zombies in them. That I promise you.